Let's talk about why Tiffanie Drayton left the U.S. to pursue dreams elsewhere. She is a Black American refugee, and she left the U.S. for Trinidad and Tobago in 2013. She became part of a small cultural cohort, Black American immigrants, who said they felt cornered and powerless in the face of persistent racism, police brutality, and economic struggles in the U.S. and chose to settle and pursue their American born dreams abroad instead. You know, those are some very strong words, and we do know that it happens so much right here in our own multicultural country. There is a lot of racism here, persistent racism, persistent. Just did the video on Delta Airlines, and so forth and so forth. And I've even, experienced it, and it still happens. And I know that most of you have experienced it in some kind of way. Leave your comments on the video, below about your experience with it, you know. And so, police brutality, we've seen that over and over, and even the economic struggles. Black people are constantly having economic struggles, and it's not always because Black people make bad choices. It is what it is. There are struggles because the scale is unbalanced. It's been unbalanced for decades. It tilts against the Black community. It tilts against Black people, even ones that are educated, even ones that are pursuing, doing everything they can to prepare for a good college education, a good experience, even for a good job, their resume, and still the economic struggles continue. And it's not just in the job market, financially, but it's like schools and medical care and legal disparities. It's a lot, And so when we look at these things, it's good to talk about these things. But her name is Tiffanie Drayton, and so she chose to pursue her dreams abroad. So no official statistics cover these international transplants, but but they span the globe and leave the U.S. temporarily or permanently for different reasons, in search of a better quality of life, for work opportunities, to marry or retire, for tax reasons, for adventure. And I've read stories about tax reasons and even people retiring. And then some people go somewhere to marry somebody else because they can't find somebody they feel is compatible to them right here in the United States, and even having a better quality of life. So Drayton, 32, left in part because her family kept getting priced out of gentrifying neighborhoods in New Jersey. She lived in New Jersey. It's a gentrifying neighborhood, and she kept getting priced out. And then 17-year-old Trey Martin was shot and killed after buying a bag of Skittles and a can of iced tea. A tragic moment that for Drayton reinforced the lifelong challenges she faced as a Black American. In America, your hands are shaking. You're worried about what to say. You're worried about whether you have the right ID. You're just so worried all the time, Drayton told USA Today in June of 2020, describing the interactions she and her family and friends regularly experience with American police officers. Okay? And she said, I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. Fed up with racism, Black Americans head overseas. So Drayton published Black American Refugee. It's escaping the narcissism of the American dream. Uh, the publisher is Viking, and it's out now. If you want to read the book, if you want to purchase it, it might even be in a library by now. But it's the Black American Refugee, escaping the narcissism of the American dream, and the publisher is Viking. A look at race in America told through the lens of her personal journey. Drayton's tale is told with verve and honesty. It blends her experiences trying to ascend America's traditional citadels of success, whether it's relationships or pocketbooks, with historically contextualized explanations about the many barriers put in front of Black Americans. And what follows is a lightly edited version of a Q&A email correspondence with the author. Question: why did you have to write this book? Why was it necessary to you? And then Tiffanie says, I first began to unravel the complexities of systemic racism in college after taking a class called Racial Stratification in the U.S. Economy with a professor named Derek Hamilton. In doing so, I was finally able to enumerate the number of ways racism has negatively impacted my life and come to terms with it. The experience was both relieving and empowering. This book was my opportunity to humanize the conversation about systemic racism while also giving others the necessary information to understand it. So the book was published by Viking on February 15th, 2022. So it's a very new book, and I like the cover of it. It's a really nice cover of this book. I'm gonna try to, I guess, to pull it up and see if I can post it, um on my channel. But it's a really nice cover of this book. And then it says, you write in the book that Black emancipation has always been about more than just being physically free. What's your idea of freedom? Drayton goes on to say, freedom is the opportunity to be in an environment that recognizes, cherishes, and protects your humanity and culture, whether people within it think of you as an extension of themselves, like family even. For me, that looks like walking through neighborhoods or driving at night without fearing me or my family will be treated badly just because our skin is a browner hue. It also looks like parading through the streets of Trinidad and Tobago for carnival while surrounded by people of all colors who are all there to experience one thing, joy. Another question. You had a place to escape. Most Black Americans don't. What's your advice to them? Drayton. Black Americans have one of the most powerful passports in the world. Just as people immigrate to the U.S., Black people can immigrate elsewhere. Question. The word only appears once in the book, but in your conversation, you mentioned that Black American refugee is, among other things, a call for reparations. What is your vision for what a reparations policy would look like? Drayton. America and the rest of the world's colonial powers owe reconciliatory justice to those whose lineages and lives have been ravished or destroyed by structural racism and oppression. To me, that means acknowledgement for wrongdoing written into law and history and compensation in the form of both financial restitution and the redistribution of the world's wealth and resources. Question. You take aim in the book at liberalism and the liberal left in America, saying that it has allowed whites to maintain a sense of self-righteousness, to claim moral high ground and standing, essentially through inaction on racism. How can whites help dismantle the systemic structural racism your book addresses? Drayton. Whites are wholly responsible for dismantling systemic racism and must embrace that obligation and responsibility. Whiteness has been so normalized that we accept the government as almost entirely run by white men, but could never conceive of it almost entirely run by Black or indigenous women. We must decentralize whiteness and normalize humanness in its various forms. Question. You document a lot of the bad about America. What about the good? Drayton. My book offers a nuanced and critical perspective of America through the lens of a Black woman, one full of beauty, hardship, and the fight to reclaim my dignity. Question. Without giving away the ending of the book, I think we can say the story ends in Trinidad, but of course there are forces constantly pulling you away from there. What can you say about what you are up to now and plan to do next? Drayton. I believe my access to America is essential for me to inspire the change I want to see ripple out through the world. I may return to America at any time, but with one purpose in mind and heart, to light the flame that hopefully sets fire to the systems erected to oppress and destroy this planet and the beautiful people of every shade within it. You know, very heartfelt story. I am going to, and I didn't get a chance to do this, but I am definitely going to buy this book. I want to read her book. It sounds very, very thought provoking, but also enlightening. And also, she seems to be very well, you know, educated in speaking and articulate, and I do like the answers that she has provided. And so, is nothing wrong with seeking information and being able to respect what other people write. And one thing about it, when she said Black women and one full of beauty, and I always say, the beauty of color, it's so amazing with Black women, the beauty of color. And we have experienced a lot of hardship. And I could tell you my experience life, with things that I've been through with hardship. And then the fight to reclaim your dignity when they try to take your dignity from you, especially when you're on a job and you're doing your job and you have people surrounding you that are envious and they don't want to see a Black woman in leadership. And that is a struggle. It can become a hardship and you're constantly have to battle and fight for what you know you've earned, and you're doing your job, and you still get, you know, uh, people coming at you, you know, the wrong way in that. And so we have got to be able to stand and claim our moral high ground. We got to do that. We can't let people keep taking that from us, you know. And so anyway, I'm going to put this book in the description. I will put the book in the description, you know, in case you're interested in purchasing the book and reading it. And then again, I wanted to show the cover of this book because it's a nice cover. I like the cover, so I'll try to do that. But I will put it in the comments. So thank you all for tuning in.